I would just like to say, I think that you're also normal and lovely, and evidence of the fact that people with a drinking problem are not park bench alcoholics in any way stereotyped. So first of all, a big thank you to Faye and Linda and anyone else who was instrumental in organising today. And it's really nice to see you all and meet you all properly. And a big thank you to Andrew and Sarah for coming along. So I wanted to start by telling you a bit about how my idea of Soberistas started. In May 2011, I was sitting on the settee of my then boyfriend's house, his bachelor pad, which was very scruffy and horrible, and feeling pretty dire about myself. A few weeks after my last drink ended in disaster when I woke up in hospital. And I nervously mooted the idea to him that I had been thinking about a social network site for people with a drinking problem, and waited for his response, expecting him to laugh at me and tell me it was a ridiculous idea. But he didn't, and he said he thought it was a great idea and he would help me as much as he could. So that was where the idea started. I wanted to do that because I felt very alone in the fact that I had a drink problem, but I wouldn't have considered myself an alcoholic and gone to AA because I just didn't feel like it was relevant to me. Although I wasn't a secret drinker all the time, and my friends would all have defined me as a big drinker, a bit of a party animal, they didn't know how bad I felt inside about my drinking. They didn't know how guilty I was and how full of shame I was. Quite often in the mornings when I woke up and realised I'd made an arse of myself yet again the night before. There was the time when I fell over in the bath at 2 o'clock in the morning when I was brushing my teeth, absolutely plastered, hit my head and woke my boyfriend up, not the current one. And 2 hours later he was scrubbing my sick off the bedroom floor and was not very happy with me the next morning at all. Countless parties when I was carted off upstairs and laid out in the recovery position on somebody's spare bed. And the night when I went to a party with another boyfriend, there were lots of boyfriends, I was making a lot of bad decisions during my drinking years. And 12 hours of the night just went. I remember up until about 8 o'clock drinking fast because I was nervous and I didn't know anybody. And then coming home at 7:30 in the morning to this house where the party had taken place and having no recollection at all of where I'd been, who I'd been with, or what I'd been doing, to find my boyfriend sitting on the steps in floods of tears, thinking I'd probably been killed or abducted or something awful. So with all of these catastrophes building, my little library of booze-related horrors building in my head, the writing was pretty starkly written on the wall that I did not get along very well with alcohol, and yet I still carried on drinking for 25 years. Largely, I think, because of the culture that we live in, and it's very normal in the UK to binge drink, and people laugh it off at work, and you have your work parties and Christmas do's, and so-and-so got hammered last night, and isn't it funny? And I laughed it off as well, but inside it was killing me, and I knew that I was very much running into trouble. At one of the last parties I attended as a drinker, I remember the host saying quietly to my then boyfriend, "Lucy really needs to learn to moderate." It's like, it's not that easy. Well, I firmly believe that if more people had said to me, "Lucy, you've got a problem with drinking," I probably would have gone to get help sooner, but nobody did. It was always laughed off. Even, I remember one New Year's Eve getting so, in fact it was the millennium New Year's Eve, when my daughter was almost one, and I got so drunk that at my parents' house that my mum had to shower me with my clothes on to wash all the sick off. I was so drunk, sitting in the shower, out of it almost, and at sort of 2 o'clock in the morning, and even that, didn't prompt my mum and dad, who were teachers and very respectable, lovely people, even that didn't prompt them to say, "You really need help." It was just kind of laughed off as, "Oh dear, Lucy had one too many again." I was never honest with my GP about how much I drank. On the rare occasion where I did mention that I was a bit worried about the amount I was drinking, and he asked me how many units I drank, I'd say about 25, 30, just enough to make it believable beyond the government guidelines, but nowhere near 150 units that I was drinking pretty much on a regular basis. I didn't want to change. I never attributed my depression, my panic attacks, my anxiety issues, my lack of confidence, my low self-esteem, my self-hatred. I never attributed any of that to alcohol. I thought that was just me. And everything bad that happened in my life, I put down to a bad, just having sort of a rough deal in life, really, getting a bad hand. So you all know about my last night, having read my book and my blog probably, and me rattling on about it all the time, but I woke up in hospital at 3 o'clock in the morning. Couldn't remember how I'd got there. I'd got there because me and Sean, my now fiance, had been discussing having a baby for a while. He hasn't got any other children, and we decided we really should get on with it because of our ages. And I thought I was pregnant and did a pregnancy test, and I wasn't, and I was absolutely heartbroken. I'd convinced myself that I was going to get pregnant straight away, and I was 35, and I kind of felt the biological clock ticking. And when I looked at the pregnancy test results, I was just shattered, and I thought, yet again, I'm too shit, I'm rubbish, I'm never going to be successful in anything I want in life. Sean was going out that night, Isabel was at the dad's, and I went up to Tesco's and bought a bottle of wine, drank it in an hour, and at 7:30 went back up to Tesco's to buy one more bottle of wine, but we had a buy one get one free, so I thought, well, stupid not to, might as well buy two, but I'll keep the third one for another occasion. Didn't, drank both the subsequent bottles of wine and the bottle of cider that Sean had thoughtfully left in my fridge. And the next minute I woke up in hospital about 3 o'clock in the morning. Pretty horrific. I was self-harming that night. I wasn't drinking as an icebreaker or a social lubricant or a pick-me-up. I was drinking to damage myself. And the morning after, words cannot describe how horrific I felt, and I was suicidal really for a few days. And it was only because of Sean and Isabel that I didn't do anything about that, act on those thoughts. And I only had two choices, which was sink or swim, so I decided I would swim. So I went to see my GP a few days later, and he recommended Alcoholics Anonymous and Sheffield Alcohol Support Service, which were very helpful and I'm sure do an awful lot of good for some people. And maybe I was in denial, but for me, I couldn't see myself going to meetings with people who were on the vodka at 8 o'clock in the morning. It just didn't feel appropriate, and really I felt a bit like a fraud if I'd have gone along to those places. I didn't feel like my drinking was bad enough. I didn't categorise myself as an alcoholic. After a few weeks, I began to think about the concept of what became Soberistas, and I'd realised through my own research and thinking about this problem that there was nothing out there that appealed to women like me who wouldn't have gone to the AA. And I did start to think that there were a lot of people out there who couldn't drink like responsible adults do, or how responsible adults are supposed to drink. I just wanted to feel good as well about a decision that not to drink. The idea of spending the rest of my life tortured by the idea of wanting to drink and going past the pub garden and gritting my teeth and wishing I could sit there and have a glass of wine with everybody else was just awful, and I just thought there's no way I can live the rest of my life like that. But equally I can't ever drink again, because if I do I'll be dead. So I had to find a way of making myself feel good about not drinking, and the AA wasn't going to do that for me. So luckily for me, Sean, with his great support that he gave me, is also pretty good with computers. So although he works full time for Sheffield Fire Service, although unfortunately not as a fireman, he decided he would take care of the technology side of things and I would take care of the content and writing stuff. So our main aim was to create a website that was in no way prescriptive, judgmental, religious or do-goody. It had to be a completely open place, a sanctuary where all our members felt as though they could be brutally honest about their problems with booze. We've had enough of lying to our doctors, lying to ourselves, and I knew that the most important feature of Soberistas would be how it afforded people anonymity and the ability to just fess up for the first time in their lives about how much they were drinking. Sharing stories and offering advice and tips to each other is a really powerful tool in beating alcohol dependency. And for me, it was half the battle won. I nearly said bottle won. No. But it may seem simplistic as a means of tackling something as serious as an alcohol dependency, but I think for women particularly, knowing that you're not alone and just knowing that you're not some kind of freak is such a massive help in boosting your self-esteem and making you feel like a real person who matters. And once you start to feel that, you're halfway there to dealing with the problem, because that low self-esteem and the feelings of low self-worth is what keeps you drinking. So the emphasis was on social networking, blogs, chat rooms, discussion posts, and the personal stories, which we felt was a really integral part of the website to sort of offer advice and just to make people realise again that it wasn't just them. So I beavered away downstairs on my laptop, and Sean got busy upstairs on his Apple Mac, and we didn't see each other much for many months. And in the middle of all that, we had Lily, and it's been a very hectic first year. All the TV stuff and the radio stuff that's been spun off from Soberistas has been quite an interesting learning curve for me, and I can't stress enough, I mean, I'm preaching to the converted here, but I was a nervous wreck a few years ago. I used to get palpitations some mornings when I had a terrible hangover at the idea of getting on a bus and talking to the bus driver. I was so beset by low self-confidence and bad nerves. And the fact that I've now done 8 TV appearances, most of those are live, have been live. God knows how many radio interviews, most of which were with you last week.
12 in one day.
12 in one morning, I think. And all the photo shoots and things for magazines, and now it's a breeze. The difference in my personality is palpable, and all the things that I thought were me, it wasn't me at all. It was me drinking. That's what made me that person. So all the media promotional work that we've done has meant that our membership's grown from 100 on our launch night, which was November the 26th, 2012, to about 150 short of 20,000 today.
Oh, right.
We never imagined for a minute that we would witness such a massive growth rate, so we've been really, really busy. And like I say, Sean works full time for the fire service, so all of his efforts have been in the evenings and weekends, and he's very dedicated to this because he knows how much it helps people, and he's a star.
He is.
He's been very supportive to me, and when I was writing the books, particularly with Sarah, me and Sean didn't speak for about 3 months. As soon as Lily went to bed, I was just on my laptop, and he's just been an absolute star in supporting me in everything that I've done. I only gave up my part-time role at Sheffield Hallam in November, so I've only been fully working on Soberistas for the last 2 months, so it really was a bit taxing, but it's been much better now, and life has simplified, because this is what I want to do, this is what I'm really passionate about, and I believe that there's so much work to be done in this area, particularly this middle group of women, which is, I'm a woman, so it's what I know, but I know there are men out there struggling, but there's the spectrum of the non-problematic drinker and the hardcore alcoholic. And there's a massive, massive number of people who fall in the middle of that, who aren't getting help, they just slip through the net. The UK is really hypocritical about alcohol. We bang on about it and market it and advertise it so freely, but when it comes to those people who are dependent on it, the conversation dries up, nobody wants to talk about it. I think I was talking to Sue about smoking and the difference, you give up smoking, you get congratulated and patted on the back. You say you've stopped drinking, everybody looks like somebody died. It's the most horrific thing that you could ever say to a lot of people. But I'm dedicated to building Soberistas in order to make it the go-to online resource for any woman who is worried about her alcohol consumption. And I think it's a really good starting point to go if you are in any way at all worried about your relationship with alcohol, because you can find out really quickly if you've got a problem or not. I think if I'd have gone to Soberistas 5 years ago, I would have immediately said, oh, okay, that's me, I've got a problem. There's a lot wrong with the way society approaches alcohol. On the one hand, people casually joking about it, for instance, films like The Hangover, which I find so irksome, I can't begin to tell you. and then marketing it as an innocuous and glamorous treat that will make any evening go with a bang. But on the other side of the coin, we demonise people who turn alcoholics. How dreadful we talked collectively about those who become so unhinged that they have to stop drinking forever. But where's the alternative viewpoint? There is no other viewpoint that says it's great actually to not drink. It's a very positive lifestyle choice to make, and you will be a better parent, and you will be happier, and you will eradicate depression and anxiety and have better relationships and know who you are as a person and chase your dreams and be fulfilled. There is no other voice out there. You either drink normally, responsibly, or you're an alcoholic who's pitted and demonised. There are other alternatives, I think, springing up now, because I think society is slowly coming round to the idea that we've got a destructive and negative relationship with booze in this country, and places like Redemption and The Brink are good examples of this. But we need more of that. We need alternative places to socialise in every city, so that it becomes a normal thing, so people have got the alternative. They've got a serving suggestion that actually you don't have to go out and get hammered on a Saturday night. You can do something else. So the future of Soberistas for me lies not just in providing a website that's a place of understanding and kindness, but in becoming a loud and difficult to ignore campaigning voice, which will challenge the status quo of the UK and beyond, and to further cement the idea that AF living is a really good, positive lifestyle choice that people should be proud of making, and there's nothing to feel ashamed about at all about making the decision to not drink. You might not define yourself as an alcoholic, but you may believe strongly that you cannot have a healthy relationship with alcohol. You may not want to spend the rest of your days gritting your teeth and hoping temptation won't trip you up in your alcohol-free endeavours. You may find nothing shameful in wishing to live free from the booze trap. If you are any of those things, then you're a Soberista. And together, I believe that we can make it okay to not drink and to make it a viable, alternative way to live your life that is something to be proud of. So thank you all for helping to build the Soberistas community in our first year. And I'm really grateful to you all coming today and having a chance to meet you all. It's very emotional for me, because it was just an idea, a year and a half, 2 years ago. It was just kind of a thought in my head, and how it's grown and become something so real and so important to so many people is, I do feel, I love you all, and I just feel I'm very passionate about my website and how much it means to you all. So thank you all. Has anybody got any questions?
How did you come up with the name?
Well, the name had been bandied about a bit in the media. There were a few articles in the over recently, just before I thought of the idea, about celebrities giving up booze, and I think it was an Australian article that had coined it. Just kind of.
And there was a lot of fashionistas.
Yeah, fashionistas, bargainistas, and so it was just kind of. I've read it in a newspaper article, but nobody seemed to own it. We've just had it trademarked, so it's out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great name.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people have said that they would never class themselves as an alcoholic, but they're very happy to say they're a Soberista, and that was the intention. It was trying to create a positive, something that people could really relate to.
It's like fashionista.
Yeah, it's got positive connotations. Yeah.
I mean, I'm out and proud about being a Soberista.
Yeah.
I tell everyone.
Yeah, well, so do I.
Good for you.
I'm a Soberista.
Yeah. Excellent.
So what's next? Lucy, this.
Well, we've got to. Obviously, it takes up a lot more time now than it did when we first started. I think between us we work about 50 hours a week on it now. So the next step is to make it a fully economically viable site, so that we can pay ourselves a wage and do it full time. So we are in the process of kind of becoming that by opening it up to advertisers. We don't ever want to make it a hugely commercial site. It's never been our intention, but obviously we need to live. So there were only really two options: was to charge a membership fee, which we didn't want to do, because we think that's a big part of it, is that it's free and it's accessible to everybody, or advertise. So we're going down the advertising route. But I believe that because that will give us a salary, we will be able to devote or it'll be a working, a full working week for both of us, which will mean we'll be able to take it to a much better level a lot quicker.
Yeah, 'cause the idea of, like, we looked at the bracelets
Yeah.
quite early on, there were different thoughts about different types
Yeah.
of bracelets. So something that I would thought was if there was merchandise, there's other
Yeah,
types
well,
that
that's
I
something we've
remember
thought
of, but
about.
There's merchandise and then so that I run. So when somebody from another part of the country is in a race and they're wearing a t-shirt, I know I'm with
Yeah,
them. So
yeah,
if I was like a bracelet, if there was something
yeah,
to, you could look for other
yeah,
people as well.
definitely. Just that feeling of community and
all of
In a way that
belonging.
or-
Yeah, yeah. So we look at those and maybe t-shirts and things like that as a kind of as another finance raising. Yeah, yeah. Well, I won the social enterprise competition in August and won some money, which we spent part of that on rebranding and all the updates we've had done on the website and trademarking and all the rest of it. So we've kind of spent that money on establishing Soberistas is now a limited company, and we're ready to kind of take it forward so that we can turn it, well, just make it, I want to make it massive. I want to be the alternative to the AA, so that I just think AA it works for some people, and I have a friend who's been going for years, but to me it's an outdated concept. It was designed by men. I think there's a lot wrong with it in terms of female relevance to women. And I just think there needs to be something that addresses that middle ground for people who don't think that they're a hardcore alcoholic. So that's what I want Soberistas to be.
Do you think it would be maybe useful to have sort of almost like a little sort of flyer that was at GP surgeries?
Yeah,
and
definitely.
things like
That's
that?
something else. But you get all these things that we've kind of thought about are very time. It's a lot of time, it's a lot of money, and neither of those we've had at all. So it's been like there's so many ideas that over the next few months we want to. I do want GPs across the UK.
Well, currently,
to recommend
our
it.
local GPs are picking up the sober revolution to have on
Yeah,
hand
yeah.
for in my area, because I've gone and bashed them a bit about it, and they said, yeah, saves them so much time, and that's what they're very, very
Yeah.
short
So
of.
if you could produce some sort of leaflet
Yeah,
that all of us
Yeah.
could hand out to our
Yeah.
local GPs.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that,
You know.
you want to, I shall speak about that in a second about.
well, that's a really good idea, yeah, and kind of having key people across the country, key contacts who can disseminate the sort of message into their local area is, but, again, it's money. We are expecting by the end of 2014 to be in a much better place, so all of these things that we want to do will be reinvesting a lot of money that we get through the advertising back into the site and spending it on these sorts of things, just to get it a lot better known. I mean, we've been really lucky in the media attention we've had, massively lucky, and that's really raised awareness of it, but there's so much more work, I think, to
I
be
don't
done.
think it's luck, Lucy. I think you struck a chord.
Thank you.
Really. It's the time for it.
I think it is. I think there's it's a bit of a zeitgeist, isn't it, at the moment? There's a lot of people who are just fed up with having that shitty standard of living where you've got a hangover every weekend.
It is timing for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been around for 12 years, and never has there been a more trending, awful thing to say, I know, but a more trending time
Yeah,
for this.
it
And
is.
it's a serendipitous kind of,
Yeah,
which is
There's
rather
just
nice.
so many people in the same situation.
Yeah.
Loads.
yeah,
And loads that you don't even know about.
yeah.
Who haven't even come across it.
And look how normal everybody is in this room. You know what I mean? It's like it just makes you think the people at work. I worked at Sheffield Hallam Uni. There's God knows how many employees there, 5,000. And amongst there, I remember, you sort of think back now and you just think, well, I wonder how many of those were hitting a bottle of wine, a couple of bottles of wine a night, and then just sort of getting coffee down the next morning and never saying a word to anybody. Because I was one of them, for years and years that's what I did. I never told people.
And every person who I've spoken to about not drinking, when I've been brave enough to say it, there's whatever event I've been at, there's always been at least 1, 2, 3 people asking me more about it. Oh, I'd like to cut down.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
would
yeah,
you
I've
do
noticed
it?
that,
I wish
actually.
I could do
Yeah.
that. And
Well, my sister-in-law, who we're staying with, on kind of, common law sister-in-law, who we're staying with last night, she's not a big boozer, but she likes to drink, and she was on the Bex Blue last night, just because she said, I've tried, since January, I felt a bit crappy after Christmas, and I've just been making an effort to not drink as much. And I thought, that's a bit of a sign. She's normally a person who would have got the beers in if people were staying.
My mum, I didn't even know my mum was struggling because I wrote on the site about my Merlot wielding mother, but I found it a bit difficult when she came to visit me. She look up to mum, don't you?
Yeah.
And so I was sort of, I've come out to her and sort of had chats with her. Now she's reading Jason Bailey, and she's just like, it turns out she was like buying one of those big boxes of wine, getting through that in a week. I had no idea.
Right.
Literally no idea. And now we're
And that's your
openly
mum's.
talking about it. So it's like, I see it as, I think the sober revolution is such a brilliant name for it, but it feels like this is quiet revolution behind the net curtains all over
Yeah.
Britain.
Yeah.
Brilliant. They're going, no, we're
Yeah.
not going to do that.
Yeah, so I think the more people as well, it's a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy, isn't it? And the more people who are prepared to come out and say, no, do you know what, I didn't like that life for me, it was rubbish, I was a snappy cow, I didn't like wasting my weekends, I never achieved anything, and I feel a million times better now without drinking. So for me, that's a great choice. And the more people who come out with that and say it freely and openly, I think it has a ripple effect and encourages other people to dip the toe in and see if it's a good life choice for them.
Yeah, I mean, when I stopped for 2 months, I decided to go public and put a post on my blog about stopping drinking, and then posted the link on Facebook. And the number of comments I got, "You're so brave!"
Yeah.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
And I really didn't see it as brave. I
No.
saw it as being honest.
Yeah.
It should be considered normal, shouldn't it? It should,
Yeah.
to live your life without hiding behind something and numbing all your emotions at every turn should be actually normal.
A few more thoughtful comments about, yeah, maybe I should think about. So
Yeah.
the more of us that can get it out there.
Yeah, definitely.
I just wondered how the future lies in terms of perhaps a representative being in certain towns like London or the South, or I know we're all here today, and I really feel that this is, as I said to you earlier, is really taking off.
Yeah.
And I just so hope
I think it's a
it will
good
take off.
point.
but-
I mean, the sort of informal meetings that have sprung up now through Soberistas. There's another one in Manchester today and one in Leeds, I think, in a couple of weeks, and then the York meeting. I think they're evidence of the fact that this is going to really help people to have that face-to-face contact. So it's not something I've given any thought to in terms of representatives, but it's not a bad idea. Just somebody who's kind of given a little bit more guidance, perhaps, in the sort of message that they need to be getting out there. And I like the fact that Soberistas is not 12 steps is so prescriptive, and it's such a kind of set way of doing things. And I think what is nice about Soberistas is its informality and the fact that it just allows people to be themselves, and you don't have to follow a certain way. The only thing really that we ask is that you're optimistic and feel good about not drinking. That's all it is really. There's nothing more that we demand of you than that. That's what we're hoping from you anyway. So it's kind of, but I think somebody who could organise, somebody who's selected to organise and be a bit of a...
Yeah, I work I'm a secretary in a city law firm, and I look at Soberistas on my phone. If I was to look at it on my screen, the whole department would see it.
Yeah.
And yet, I know that probably in the city, there's probably loads of us, working every day, going to work, struggling, and someone out in the city of London.
Well, I see
London.
how many people there are online on a Monday morning, and I know
Yeah.
there's this many. Lots of these people are at work, not working. But yeah, I know.
I'd love to walk around my firm.
Yeah.
With a big sign.
And what's annoying about that is that those people who might go, "Oh God, she got a booze problem."
Yeah.
A lot of them are drinking a bottle of wine a night and not thinking anything of it. It's just so hypocritical. It's very annoying.
I think possibly one of the things we spoke very briefly about, so I work for quite a large firm in the city as well, and I'm very integrated with the Women's Network. And we mentioned we have a Be Inspired area, and we talked about how we can invite inspirational people to share their stories. And there's lots of big firms that have these women's networks, and a lot of them do invite men as well as women to their meetings, but just pushing it out there.
Yeah, I think that's a really I think that'll
Be really willing
make
to
a
get involved
difference.
with that as well.
Lots of public speaking. Yeah.
We're going to be very busy.
I know. That's why I need to put the adverts on there so I can put Lily in
You are
nursery a
very
bit
busy.
more. My working day is ridiculous at the moment.
30 hours at the moment, isn't it,
It
Liz?
is, but
Yeah.
those 30 hours are pretty much 2 hours when Lily's asleep in the day and then the rest at night when she goes to bed.
How old's your little one now?
She's 21 months and Isabel's 15 at the end of
How is
January.
it?
It's been a bit challenging, but it's getting harder now because she's a toddler and, you know, when they're a baby they sleep all day, don't they? But, well, she did. But now she's very busy.
Demand.
As Sarah knows, since we went to stay at Sarah's house and she made Sarah feel like the dirtiest woman on the planet. She crawled round all day.
Very OCD.
Sarah hadn't been hoovering as well as she should.
Lily, stop it.
Yeah, so yeah, there's a lot of work to be done and we need to raise the capital to allow us to do the work is basically where we're at. So that's kind of our immediate job over the next few months.
Is there another Sober Revolution Part 2 coming published?
Well, my new book is published. Well, it's not actually published until March, but it will be available online next week. But it's just my blogs. So anybody who's read my blogs, don't want you to be disappointed thinking this is a new book. It isn't. It is my blogs, but put in a book form. And it's called Glass Half Full, and that will be available on Amazon next week. But I am hoping to make a sort of side career of writing alongside my work with Soberistas because I do love it. So yeah, at some point in the next year or two, I'm hoping to get another one out there. Which I'm not sure if it'll be a sequel, follow-up to Sober Revolution, we'll have to see how much time we've got, but I'll definitely be doing more.
That old thing time again.
I know.
Did you find you haven't had a drink since 2011, was it?
Yeah, nearly 3 years.
Do you find that it's been a few years now that your brain cells have come back? Because I find I love writing as well, but I just find my brain doesn't work and like my writing style is crap. And when I'm trying to express myself, it just doesn't come out right. And I feel like, I don't know, something's been lost.
I think with writing, a big part of it is practice. And I wrote all the time when I was drinking, but I never finished anything I wrote. So there were endless stories that were 1 or 2 chapters in. But I writing my blog really helped my writing style because I was writing like every other day, and just kind of practice just got me into a much better style, I think. But definitely with the brain coming back to life, that clarity that you get from not drinking is just massive. And I mean, we talk about it, don't we, that sort of having the blinkers taken off and you just suddenly think you're seeing the world for the first time.
It's
as it really is.
incredibly tangible, and 1 or 2 of my clients have seen this. A very tangible, which we like visuals, women like us like visuals, of a brain scan of a brain sodden with alcohol, and when I say sodden, at my level, 150 units a week, with the lights out, and then a brain without, and it's lit at like a Christmas tree, all those
Really?
electrical
Oh my God.